There it is.
All right. You want me to kick us off? Are we ready, or should we give folks a couple more minutes?
Um,
3:02.
yes, are we starting to have presenters appear as part of the 19? I'm seeing many of the people. Yes, please, Mr. President. We could go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, Paul. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for updates from the AIA Virginia Councils, committees, and statewide resources. For those who don't know me, my name is Bill Hopkins. I'm the 2026 president of AIA Virginia. The purpose of this meeting is to provide you, our members, with an overview of activities and efforts that have been happening across our organization. So as you hear each update, I ask you to think about where you might engage, how you might contribute either in a council or a committee, a knowledge community, or in a specific initiative or program that you're going to hear about. Also think about things that you're not hearing. What are we not doing? Where do you see gaps? We'd like to hear that as well. I do want to note that the presentations today are being given by those leading the effort, the council and committee chairs. However, many more are involved, and the presentations represent a collective effort and the entire council or committee. So we are going to roll through every presentation in order, but we have allowed plenty of time at the end for discussion and questions, Q&A. So on behalf of the AIA Virginia Board, I would like to thank every council and committee member for their engagement, their volunteerism, and impact on on AIA Virginia. So next slide, please. That's me. All right, so you are getting, I believe it's one learning unit for attending today. Couple housekeeping items. Please stay on mute unless you are speaking. If your connection is interrupted, just give Zoom a minute and give it a chance to reconnect. And then again, as I mentioned, there's going to be time at the end for Q&A. So if a question or comment comes up during one of the presentations, just make note of it, and then feel free to ask those questions or make that comment at the end. All right, next slide. So we are in the last year of our strategic plan. It says 2027. It ends on the last day of 2026. And our strategic plan laid out these four kind of key goals or aspirations for AIA Virginia. And each of the councils or committees have responded to each of these in their own way, and essentially developed programs or initiatives to help achieve each of these. So you're going to see references to the strategic plan throughout the presentations. Next slide. So as I said, we're in the last year of our current strategic plan. We have been working on an update for 2027, 2031. There will be more coming very soon with updates on how that's going. Next slide. All right, so let's get started. Our first presentation is the Education Advisory Council, chaired by Sean Mulligan. Sean, take it
Yes.
away.
Well, Sean is on vacation. So I volunteered or was voluntold to step in and provide an update. So
All right.
yeah, I am. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Amber Hall. I am the treasurer for AIA Virginia on the board of directors, and I'm also lucky enough to serve on the Education Advisory Council under Sean Mulligan's fearless leadership. You can go to the next slide. this is our small but mighty council. And we are also supported greatly by Delaney as well. And this council is basically serves as an advisory body to the board of directors, and we work towards the development and execution of the continuing education programming for AIA Virginia. And I will just do a shameless plug here and say, if you are interested in educational programming, if you're interested in planning great events, our flagship events, we are looking, as always, we're looking for volunteers and folks to join us on the council. So you can go to the next slide. I'll spend a little bit of time just talking through some of the activities and events within the purview of the council. So as Bill mentioned, we do work to advance a few of the elements of the strategic plan, and in particular with our signature events and conferences. Our main annual conference, our flagship event, Architecture Exchange East, as well as Design Forum, which occurs on our even years biannual conference on design excellence, innovation and inspiration. And then on the odd years, Art of Practice, which is about improving leadership and business outcomes. And I'll give a couple of updates in a minute about Design Forum this year and the upcoming ArcX. But just to walk through, we also, part of our purview is the ELA and lab programs, which are kind of within the career stage programming and leadership development. Lab is Leaders in Architecture and Business, which is our newest business management training program for mid-career professionals. And then, of course, other programs that advance professional development, code seminars, the SAP training, support knowledge communities like the Committee on the Environment and Historic Resources Committee, and work to share and support the information that they generate. So as part of the strategic plan initiatives, we really sort of fall into the educate and prepare and the advancing knowledge initiatives. So I'll just talk a little bit more about some of the programs. ELA is in its 17th year, which is incredible. And I'm sure most of you know, but ELA is an honors academy under AIA Virginia that develops emerging leaders, accelerates their career, and part of their projects that serve the communities those projects are presented each year at ArcX, which is always a great program and is now a conference-wide program that everyone can attend. And then I mentioned Lab, Leaders in Architecture and Business, the new business management training program, which is now in its second year. It's the first of its kind in the country. It's getting a lot of attention. And it's, like I said, built for and with mid-career professionals, kind of supporting transition from being an employee architect to being more of a owner manager architect. So they focus a lot on management of time, finances. And I am also lucky enough to say I was part of the LAB program in its inaugural year, and it's absolutely wonderful. It's completely transformed my view of the business of architecture. So a little moving to Design Forum, which was this year. In May, it was in Blacksburg. The theme was Against the Grain, and the event featured award-winning voices like Marlon Blackwell, Patricia Gruitz from Mass Design, Michael Reynolds from Earthship Biotecture, and Ronald Rail from Rail San Fratello. Looking forward, ArcX this year is November 4th through 6th in Richmond, as it always is, and the theme is Threshold. And we have been, our council's been working tirelessly on the selection of sessions and working on the keynote speakers and panels and trying, our best to make this, a really impactful and engaging annual conference. So we're currently sort of on the brink of announcing keynote speakers and really building the details of the event. So we're really excited. Presentations are going to be focused on, thinking through the threshold theme. They're going to be focused on leadership transitions, practice reinvention, reuse and resilience, expanding impact and cultural continuity. So we're really inspired by a lot of the proposals that we received. So ultimately, this council has a pretty wide purview, but we really want to raise the public awareness in terms of, everyone within the organization and outside, offering the highlights of what these programs and our committee members are doing and really, trying to boost attendance at these events. And letting everybody know what's so great about what we're doing. So anyway, that's what I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Amber. Karen Conkey, Member Services Advisory Council.
Yep. Hey there. Hey, everybody. Hey. My name is Karen Conkey, as Bill just said. I'm the chair of the Member Services Advisory Council. I'm also the secretary for the chapter, so I kind of wear many hats. And so we can have the next slide. So we have, again, like Amber said, a small but mighty group. I'm so happy we have a couple of volunteers that offered to serve in the last, I guess 6 months to a year. So we're getting there. And if anybody's interested in member services, happy to have you join us. We meet typically every other month, usually by Zoom. So if member services, providing great or exceptional services to the membership is in your wheelhouse, we'd love to have you join us. So some of our things that we try to focus on are reaching out to improve diversity and inclusion in the profession, engaging with universities, ensuring that basically everybody can say that they have excellent membership benefits, that they're using their benefits, that they're happy members, and that we have a great organization. Next slide. So a few things that we've been participating in or working on as part of this council is you may have heard the Amber book. I'm sure people have heard it, don't know what it is, especially if you're more like me and took the exams many years ago. But it's study materials for those who are studying for licensure. We feel it's very strongly that we should support folks to get their license. So therefore, we've been promoting and trying to help people have access to the Amber book. That's a subscription-based system. And so far since last November, we've had 22 associates members participate in our discounted program. So that's something to applaud. We also offer stamp reimbursement. So for anybody who has gotten their license, has been successful taking the tests, has gotten a license, we thought it would be a nice thing. I know it's a little bit of a paperweight these days with electronic signatures, but it's a nice thing to have to know that to memorialize that huge accomplishment in your life. So if anybody has a newly licensed and wants a reimbursement for a stamp, you can reach out to us and we will happy to take care of that. This year, we've been trying to focus on outreach to other groups, the low-hanging fruit as it is, reaching out to the STAR. Forgive me, I don't know what the acronym stands for, but it's the associate representative for the state licensing advisor, and the young architects folks. There's Aiden. Thank you. We've been reaching out to everybody to try to see how can we help those different groups and support emerging professionals. We also have been promoting different things like for licensure to associate members. Gina promoted a pathway to licensure as part of the state licensing advisor role, and it was a very well attended program. Could have been better attended, of course, but we were happy to have the content available on AIA Virginia's YouTube channel. The other thing that we're really proud of this year is we reached out to universities in Virginia with students who are graduating and reminded them that the AIA offers 18 months of associate membership for free. So that's a great thing. And so we had 18 new members join because of that awareness or promotion of that program, or sorry, 16 new members. And so we're very excited about that. Let's see, we've been promoting onboarding sessions. Kathy Gusky, our staff liaison, who we're totally reliant on to make all these wonderful things happen. She has been hosting those quarterly Zoom calls for, I guess, a year or two, maybe 3 years. So those have been well attended, and we've continued to do that. The other thing coming up, mark your calendars. We have the upcoming firm size and non-traditional practice roundtables on August 19th. If you can't join us in August because you're at the beach, remember they'll also be at ArcX. We also have the career stage roundtables coming up on the 26th. So those will be fun and interesting events hosted by the different groups that hold, or the different facilitators that hold those roundtables. So let's see if I can have the next slide, please. The other thing we've been trying to do is promote what we do to non-members in hopes that perhaps they will think, oh, this is a group that is worthwhile and we want to join this group because of all the good works that are being performed by AIA Virginia. We did a non-member survey, I guess about a month and almost 2 months ago now. And we're sort of analyzing the results of that to see how we can maybe better our services and make us more appealing and enticing to non-members. We're also going to be working on a promotion of what do I get for my dues? You know, everybody always asks that question. So making sure that members are aware of the benefits that currently exist and promoting that and making sure that everybody is taking advantage of those benefits. As you can see, we have a couple little graphics there at the bottom. Membership of July 1st, 2026. We have a slight increase of membership year over year, so slightly more than 2025. And of course, last but not least, we're very happy to have our happy birthday postcards. Hopefully you've gotten birthday postcards in your birthday month from Kathy. She's the staff person who facilitates that, and it's always a pleasant thing to receive. We used it as a competition, I guess, last year in 2025, and we had several winners, so you'll see different designs each year. So with that, I think that's my last slide, but I can't quite remember. There we go. All right, great. Thank you so much, and thank you for listening.
Thank you, Karen. Okay, Outreach Advisory Council, chaired by Chris Warren. Chris.
Hey everybody, I'm Chris Warren. I'm the chair of the Outreach Advisory Council, and just was thinking I've been a member of it for probably about 6 years. So it's been a great council to be a part of, and it's a lot of fun working with everybody and getting to know the rest of the council. So, you know, standard size crew, but you know, everybody is really great, kind of all over the state, which is nice to have kind of representation from every chapter. But you know, we're in charge of, well, you know, the public outreach initiatives that we'll see more about on the next slide. So kind of things that we have planned this year is, you know, every year we have the AIA Virginia Prize competition. This year it was chaired by Jim Cutler, and he is kind of pivotal in creating the like Pacific Northwest housing style. If you ever look up his works or architecture, it's you know, makes you want to rent an Airbnb in Oregon or something. But yeah, so he was a great jury chair to work with. And then we moved our resiliency series to September. we tried for May and then decided to skip summer and are going for September now. So we already have a few speakers lined up and are excited to bring that forward again to the chapter and hopefully some, the public at large, if we could break architecture containment of the advertising. But next slide. So coming up, things that we have planned for the rest of this year and next year, we still need to find jury chairs for the AIA Virginia Prize and the Design Awards. So if y'all have any ideas, feel free to shoot it our way and we could kind of add it to the list of people to reach out to. Another thing we've been working on is attempting to, oh, I'm still going down the, what? There we go. Work on incorporating the framework for design excellence more into the design awards. We've been working with the COAT committee about that, just to try to bring further importance to it, but haven't developed a exact conclusion about how we are going to do it, but we are working towards it. So that's something to look forward to. And we'll also are going to be working on revamping the K through 12 resources on the website to be more SOL friendly for, plug and play application for teachers. I think we're looking at Kansas City. If you go to Kansas City's educational website, it's very impressive. So that was kind of a precedent, but this is something that we're going to be looking into over the next few months. So next slide. And, just hitting some of the strategic plan initiatives, cultivate a learning culture, whether that's with, our resiliency series or the K through 12 public awareness. We are the outreach committee, collaborative relationships, working, with other committees, or sometimes I feel like the awards that we give to like the public or non-architecture members kind of hit that collaborative relationship and community connections. So yeah, that's what we got going on in the OAC committee.
Thank you, Chris. All right, Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion, chaired by Quentin Mason.
Okay. So I am the chair. Been on this committee going on year 3, first year as chair, and then get to take a break next year. But look forward to continuing to do the work. Again, a great group of folks, mainly in Richmond and coastal Virginia. So those that are not in coastal or Richmond, please be a part of this organization, as so many of our committees are already filled with other folks from other committees. I feel like I can make a pitch to you all a lot easier than some folks that are not already on committee. So join if you aren't or haven't considered being a part of this group. Next slide. So this current year, we published an article with WPA and focused on their partnership with Hampton University, specifically for the IPAL program, which is Integrated Path to Architectural Licensure, where you do a lot of this heavy lifting while you're in school, opposed to post-grad, and continuing to educate us at firm level what to do is one of our bigger goals as a committee. The ArcX panels, being able to participate in those and get some credits in and educate, again, professionals and those that are interested in what justice, equity, and diversity looks like more broadly across firm levels at architectural level of what spaces are we creating, why does it matter? Advancing knowledge, continuing with our EDI resources, sending out quarterly newsletters and social media posts. The social media posts are more monthly and have typically been more centered around holidays, but looking to expand that topic. So if you all review and read your newsletters and have questions or concerns, things that are happening out in the world, please feel free to reach out to us and we can see about getting another topic out there. Partnering with other committees, I know that's something that I've heard a few times already on this call, but being able to partner with Virginia NOMA, so National Organization of Minority Architects, also a member of, and being able to partner with YAF and do more cross-committee collaboration, just because we're all busy, and if there's already an event, why not just tag along to someone else's? Speaking of the newsletters and the quarterly newsletters focusing on equity in Q1, diversity in Q2. Again, more focused on around holidays. It's just been an easier plug-in, but looking to expand topics as we go on. Next slide. Here's some of what those social media posts are looking like for Cinco de Mayo, being able to incorporate different perspectives to it, some histories and information that you may not have typically associated with the holiday. And another shameless plug, we have a walking sketch tour coming up, talking about collaboration. Oh, don't skip by that one, Paul. You're good. Have a walking tour September 10th in Richmond, and then Coastal Virginia October 9th, 8th. So mark your calendars for that, and be walking around focusing. This is to celebrate Pride. So looking at queer histories in these areas and being able to sketch. Yeah, mark your calendars for that. Now we can proceed. And thank you. Moving into Q3, focusing on justice, looking at what cultural holidays and how to navigate that in the workplace. There'll be a newsletter on that. Again, advancing, going beyond holidays. So what other issues are coming up for folks, or just knowledge base of what is of interest to us as designers, and how can we see those overlaps of justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion, and continuing to share different ways of partnering with other organizations and committees. So YAF, NOMA, in Q4, looking at inclusion, focusing on Disability Employment Awareness Month and Kwanzaa. Yeah, those are our updates. Thanks.
Thank you, Quentin. All right, the Virginia Committee on the Environment. Kat Smith, please.
Thank you. You can go to the next slide. So I am Kat. I'm the chair of COACH, the Committee on the Environment, and this is our current champions right now for the committee, including Delaney, who's our staff liaison and who keeps us all in line and on the right track. You can go to the next slide. So Code has actually had a really spectacular year so far. We focused on two spearheads essentially for 2026. So the first one was a series of building tours. We partnered with USGBC and picked a building in each of the 5 AIA components to do a building tour. So you can see the list there. Our first one was the Sadler Center at William & Mary, followed by Highland Springs High School just outside of Richmond, and then the Nature Conservancy office building in Arlington, the Virginia Tech new Data and Decision Sciences building, and then the UVA Shannon Library, which was our last one in June. So hopefully some of you might have gotten to participate, but I think it was a really exciting program for everybody, and a good way to kind of diversify what we've been doing and get out there and get CEUs, which is always a nice plus for people. So the photos are from the Sadler Center and then from the Highland Springs High School. Next slide. The second was actually our first annual sustainability summit. We hosted this at the end of May. And the kind of focus of this summit was vision to action. So looking at some of the kind of relevant topics to the Commonwealth, specifically the new enforcement of the High Performance Building Act. What are our high risk issues in regards to resilience and energy efficiency? What are some kind of legislative issues that might be coming down the pipeline, or that we specifically want to focus on as architects? And then with that, kind of looking at the upcoming cycles of the building code and how that might affect us, and how kind of we as practitioners can get a little bit more involved and really focus on that citizen architect mantra. So the follow-up action items were actually at the end of the day-long summit. We created a series of champions, I'll say, champion groups to look at creating resilience toolkit for localities if they are looking at ways to assess risks in their area, how to deal with it, maybe how to move forward with designing something like a resilience hub. And then, like I mentioned, the High Performance Building Act, reviewing what is currently out there for legislation, evaluating it, and maybe giving some recommendations to AIA Virginia to further some legislation related to that. Third one, looking at some existing sustainable design data, specifically things like AIA 2030, some of the reporting data that's coming out of that, and how can we maybe use that. I think a lot of people feel like now it's just kind of floating in the ether of a database and we're not really getting a lot out of it. So maybe how can we better address that, use it either as practitioners or when we're talking to clients about doing more sustainable projects. And then like I said, the building code, how can we get a better seat at the table? Right now, there's no set seat for an AIA member or an architect or any kind of affiliate. So how can we really push for that? And then on the other side, how can we motivate our membership to want to be more involved with that? Because obviously that's quite important to look at the building code, which we're all working with. And then finally, having a carbon reporting task force. So really focusing, again, related to AIA 2030. Can we create kind of a rubric or a framework for people to better report on their carbon footprints for their buildings, and use that data to hopefully do better in the future. And I think this event was a great success. For our first one, we had 25 people, which might not seem like a lot, but I was a little worried there'd be like 2. So it was really nice to have that many people in the room. And everyone seemed to really enjoy it and have fun. So we're hoping for the rest of the year to start planning our second annual Sustainability Summit for 2027. And I think that's about it.
Awesome. Thank you, Kat. Okay, Historic Resources Committee, CJ.
Hi, everyone. I'm just stepping in for the day for Katie Irwin, who is in a work meeting. So thank you for letting me step in. We have membership throughout the Commonwealth. You can see everyone here. We do, well, if you have interest in historic architecture or the historic fabric, we would encourage you to come join us. I've had a lot of fun since finding out about the Historic Resources Committee 9 or 10 months ago. So next slide. So a few months ago, we had our Historic Resources retreat in Scottsville, Virginia. Lincoln, who you can see on the left image, is working with the Scottsville City Council to redevelop their zoning regulations within the city limits. We learned a lot about that. We had some brainstorming sessions. We got a little walking tour through town. Next slide. At that retreat, we also worked on our vision statement. So what we came up with as a group is the AIA Virginia Historic Resources Committee envisions a resilient future for the built environment by preserving and creating a public awareness of existing Virginia architecture. Our historic resources are a vital and necessary part of our shared architectural and cultural fabric. Like to maybe just take a moment on a personal point. We are very lucky to live in, what could be considered the cradle of the nation, and we have the architectural history to go along with that. And so I think these things are really vital to our identities as Virginians. Next slide. So we have at the retreat, we also had some goals that we were working on for the upcoming year. So we are looking to have a bigger presence at the Architectural Exchange East. We're looking to make our committee accessible to everyone in the Commonwealth. So please, reach out to us. We would love to have you. We are also, like many other committees, working on site tours, HSW credits, things of that nature, anything we can do to help folks with their AXP. We have been developing internally some of our own templates and resources for creating CEU programs, etc. And one of our bigger items to focus on this year is membership growth. Hopefully that will come with some of that bigger presence at ArcX as well. Next slide. We do some pretty cool tours. This one was really exciting. If folks are not aware of Tangier Island, it's out in the middle of the Chesapeake Bay. It's a fishing community. I think the highest level on the island above sea level is something like 6 feet or something of that nature. So they've been losing residents steadily for years and years and years. And so Lincoln, who also you saw in the Scottsville, has been living on the island while he's working on his PhD at UVA, and he has been documenting the fishing houses that you see on the right there. These are somewhat ephemeral buildings that are built out of wood and decay rather quickly with that salt air. And so he's been working on documenting those and creating a repository of that information, and has won some awards with that work. Next slide. We did another tour to the Waterford. I actually, unfortunately, don't know a whole lot about this tour. I was absent that day. But the big thing here is we are doing some of these tours jointly with AIADC and other groups throughout that would be local to our area. Next slide. We do have some upcoming events. We're working on a webinar series on HABS documentation. If you have not been to the HABS website, it's super cool, and there are lots of historic plans and elevations. Virginia being overrepresented on the HABS website. We have an upcoming tour of the Birdwood Mansion. This was recently renovated by one of the members on the Historic Resources Committee, so she'll be walking us through this tour. At ArcX, we will have the craftsperson crawl. This has been pretty successful for us in the past. This is going to be our 3rd year doing that. That will be leaving the convention center and going through Richmond and getting to see some of the local craftsmen and the things that are happening currently in town. So that'll be exciting. Join us for that. Around Christmas time, we do a Zoom holiday trivia mixer. And so just questions about the Commonwealth, points, winner, etc. And then again, every year we'll do that retreat. I'm not sure where we're gonna have that next year, but we will figure that out shortly. I think that's about it. Next slide. They just highlighting some of the things relative to the strategic plan. We are having in-person tours. We're trying to do that regionally. Webinars, the craftsperson crawl, advanced, etc. So all of these things trying to tie them back to that strategic plan. And I think that is it, actually.
All right. Thank you, CJ.
Well, I
Okay.
will stay on and I will present also the Small Firm Exchange. So I am actually the chair of the Small Firm Exchange. We are 7 months old at this point. I will admit that I am completely flying by the seat of my pants and have no idea what I'm doing. So we are feeling our way through to what it means to be the Commonwealth's Small Firm Exchange. We meet every Thursday, every third Thursday of the month. We're slowly building our membership. We have representation from 4 of the 5 regions in the Commonwealth. So if you have any small firm practitioners that are operating in coastal Virginia, we are looking for you to join us, and we would love to have you. In the last few months, the Small Firm Exchange, again, being relatively new, we've reached out to other small firm exchange groups throughout the nation. We've talked to DC, Ohio, California, as well as the National Small Firm Exchange. We've done sort of interviews with them to figure out how they're operating in their locales and what their best practices are. We've created an email exchange on Google Groups. This allows us to kind of communicate with each other, throw out code questions. There have been questions about, insurance requirements and things like that. So it's a really good resource for small firms to reach out to each other and crowdsource information that way. We're also working on a shared Google Drive that would include resources for the Small Firm Exchange. Right now, those things include our meeting minutes and agendas, as well as the Small Firm Exchange national newsletter called The Insider. And then last week, we were happy to have, 2 months ago, we were happy to have Paul join us for a listening session. This is a way for the small firms to push information up directly to AIA Virginia and have AIA Virginia hear from our small firm practitioners. So next slide. So again, goals and objectives for the next upcoming year. We definitely want to expand our membership. We currently have, I would say, about 12 to 15 people that show up pretty regularly. We are missing that representation in coastal Virginia. We would like to update the landing page on the website. And we have a goal of hosting 1 educational session per quarter with credits. We have a couple of upcoming events. So at our August 20th meeting, we'll be doing mindfulness for small firms led by Maggie Schubert. Maggie will be leading the same session at ArcX. So this is a dry run for her. So that's exciting. And then the month following in September, we will have a session on small firm finances led by Alex Helms. Who not only is a practicing architect, but has a financial background, and he is focusing very specifically on small firm finances. We'll continue to develop our internal resources, and we are looking to host small gatherings throughout the Commonwealth, social gatherings, project walkthroughs, etc. Next slide. We really are looking to have new membership as a new group in AIA. So please pass out this information. We are meeting every third Thursday. It's a Teams meeting, and you can reach out to me directly for that. And I think that's about it.
Thank you, CJ. All right, the National Associates Committee, Aiden Brown.
Hey, can everybody hear me?
Mhm.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everybody. My name is Aiden Brown. I am the State Associate Representative for AIA Virginia. Next slide, please. So I apologize in advance for this giant screen, giant text of screen here, but so essentially I'm currently serving on the knowledge subgroup where our goal is to ensure that information is easily accessible. So great news that the NAC finally was approved for LinkedIn. So I would like to usher everybody to follow it regardless of the letters you use for your email signature. Likewise, earlier we promoted an associate member survey, and through that survey, we've collaborated across the state to find some more programming for associate members in particular. So based on feedback, a big part of what associate members are looking for are additional support for ARE and getting licensed. So we're starting a pilot program in AIA Blue Ridge. It's going to be a game night theme. So based on how that plays out in AIA Blue Ridge, we're hoping to sort of move this across different components of the state. So looking forward to that. And likewise for ARCX this year, the talented Philip Baxter, who is the Associate Director on AIA Virginia, and I are going to be hosting a non-licensed professional roundtable at ARCX. The goal for this is not everybody's goal in life is to get licensed. So we really want to highlight our associate members, regardless of if they're wanting to get licensed or if they feel comfortable with where they are, kind of learn a little bit more about their story. So pretty broad overview, but that's what I have to report.
Thank you, Aiden. Okay, Young Architects, Representative John McKenna.
Yes, thank you very much. All right. Similar to Aiden, we both started up recently. I joined as the Young Architect Representative in January. To date, we've kind of had everything broken up by quarters with YAF. In the first quarter, we did have our YAF annual meeting. From there, obviously learning about my role and position for the national to state level. Q2 is focused on navigating career evolution, which actually plays quite well into some of the previous points with lab and ELA and STAR and everything for associates. So there's not a linear path, and exploring how that could work for all of our recently licensed architects. Q3, currently we're at Shaping the Future. We're looking at the different trajectories and ways that young architects will be proceeding in non-traditional roles as well as traditional roles throughout the country as well as in the Commonwealth. And Q4, we've got Cultivating Well-Being with a heavy focus on mental health, resilience, burnout, and workplace culture. All that was also discussed at AIA 26 on different events. That was a big part of taking all of the experiences from a national level and bringing it back. Sorry, excuse me. Bringing it to the state and local experiences. My personal goal in this 2-year term is to take a lot of the information that we have and spread it to all 5 chapter locations that the Commonwealth has in order to really spread our resources around and make sure everyone has access, see what we're communicating across the borders and make sure everyone is aware of the different opportunities we have, particularly in the digital events. Publishing all of our information, obviously through AIA Virginia, newsletters, and seeing how we can coordinate from larger jurisdictions across the Commonwealth. That's about it from my end.
Great, thank you. All right, Gina Robinson, our component appointed licensing advisor.
Yeah, building on the theme of licensure and support for emerging and young professionals. I'm the component appointed licensing advisor, which basically means that I'm a liaison between NCARB and licensure candidates at any point in their licensure journey within the Commonwealth. I actually have had a few candidates who've had to go outside the Commonwealth for their initial licensure, just based on their experience or people that they know in the profession. There are a bunch of different ways to do it, and I'm always happy to talk to people about that. Not to spoil my next slide, but NCARB is making some updates to the licensing advisors program. They're going to have just regular advisors and then senior advisors. There are requirements for continuing education. There are benefits to both. And I am going to attempt to roll that all up into a summary for an advisor article in the next AI Virginia newsletter. So you don't have to go digging around for information on the NCARB website. I will bullet point this. And I think it is a good opportunity to promote some equity within the advisor program, to have people who just are interested in advising be able to learn about it and participate, not have to be appointed or selected by someone. And then I do think it presents different opportunities. So travel for a conference or different training that you might get to do. So look out for that. Let's see, Paul, we can probably go to the next slide. So in the last 6 months or so, I did present a session at ArcX. It wasn't about licensure, but it was kind of emerging professional focused. There are monthly sessions with NCARB. They do trainings and kind of different webinars and discussions every month. I actually presented one of those, I think it was back in March, for new advisors. I've had just about 6 candidates reach out, 6 new candidates. And then I had 2 candidates actually get licensed, which was really exciting. I owe them a celebratory treat of their choosing. I also did a couple presentations, one at JMU, a virtual presentation for Nova Community College, and then we did the virtual presentation for AI Virginia that Karen mentioned earlier. I think going forward, just continued engagement, coming to ArcX to connect with people in person. And then we have additional training opportunities through NCARB. So for this senior advisor thing, they wanted us to say, yes, I still want to keep doing this. I think there is a conversation about continuing through June 2027 as the Virginia advisor or moving on to just be an advisor in the profession generally. Paul, you and I can talk about that more. And then this week, actually, this is a bonus. This isn't part of my advisor stuff, but I'm going to go to New Orleans to participate in an NCARB item authoring workshop. So, all up in this NCARB stuff. Any way to improve the path, the process, the exams, the experience, the documentation of education. I feel like people who've had an alternative path kind of know the challenges and the pitfalls. So I think that's part of my motivation for continuing to volunteer with them is to understand the whole process and how we as professionals can inform it. So the new program, the new licensing advisor program goes into effect September 1st. And I will try to get this article in the August newsletter so that members can have that updated information. And then I think that might be it for my slides. Do I have another one? Oh, the strategic plan stuff. I think I'm still aligned with the current strategic plan. When this new plan comes out, I will reconfigure, I believe. But it basically there's a lot of focus on educate and prepare and advance knowledge. There's a lot of stuff about the process that candidates and students just don't know, and they don't know who to ask. And so it's always good to have a resource or multiple resources to help support those 2 specific goals. So yeah, I will carry on with that.
Nice work, Gina. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bill, I can
Yeah.
hop in. I'm no Sean Mulligan, but the strategic counselor is another of the positions that's appointed by the AI Virginia board. And the strategic council is organized actually at the national level. They explore the range of architectural practice and the factors that influence architectural practice, both current practice and then looking forward, they try to anticipate what will be those forces that influence or define practice, or how will practice be executed in the future. And they offer those findings and their discovery both to members and to the AIA board. So for those of us who know him, I think we'd agree that Sean Mulligan is a consummate counselor, right? He's an excellent candidate for that. So you can look forward to his reports along the way as he and his peers discover things and share them with us.
Thank you, Paul. All right, so the Virginia PAC, Eliza.
Hello, thank you,
Hey.
everyone. So you can go to the next slide, Paul. So, so this is our list of our PAC trustees. We have a small group. We are allowed to have up to 15 people. So if you know of anyone, ideal people to me would be maybe architects that are retiring because they have more time on their hands and they know owners of firms in their different chapters. Because one of the things that we do is we reach out to different firms and let them know what the AIA Virginia does for them so that they can invest in the PAC. Next slide. So this is since the last meeting we've had, we're raising money. That's our main goal that we do. Discuss new fundraising ideas, always trying to figure out things to do to try to raise money to create relationships with legislators. And we've decided to have events of various components with firm leaders to tell them about what we're doing and try to get investments. I think was Coastal Virginia, Paul? You had one we had the first one at Coastal Virginia last year. Working on other ones and other components, because it just makes more sense to do it at the component level so people don't have to travel and make it convenient and easy just to kind of spread the word of what we do. And then we've approved the PAC spending plan for 2026. For those of you that don't know what that is our list of legislators that are in positions in the General Assembly that would be advantageous to pieces of legislation that come up regarding architects. And so our lobbying partner, Patrick Cushing, comes up with this plan every year. And then at part of PAC trustees, what we do is we review it and approve it. So that's something we do. Next slide. Did you switch it? Oh, yes. So we're just keeping on. The one thing I do want to point out that we are trying to do this year, I started really hot and heavy and kind of weaned a little bit, and we didn't meet our goal yet, but I'm still working on it. We try to get all of the leadership organizations to invest in the PAC because it's much easier for us to go to firm leaders in our various components and ask them to invest when the people leading the state memberships have given to the PAC. You know, it doesn't matter to us really the amount. We're looking for investment to show people that what the PAC does is important, right? So our PAC board has 100% investment. That means everybody that's on our PAC board has invested in the PAC. The Advocacy Advisory Council, which is kind of aligned with us, some of the stuff they do kind of relates to stuff we do. They're at 43%. And our AIA Virginia board is at 6%. Mind you, this was May. So if you've given since then, I appreciate you. But I've sent a couple emails out to them and it's kind of important. I mean, in the past, everybody knew that the PAC does important work. You know, we use this money to reach out to legislators, to get to know them, to create relationships. So the more money that's invested, all the things that we've gotten to accomplish so far has been because of these relationships that we've, created over the years. Couple things that we've done. We got our first piece of legislation passed last year with the alternative path to licensure education requirement. So that was, if you guys know about that, because some of the younger people know about it, but it's basically you don't have to, you can work under a licensed architect for 10 years to become an architect. So it kind of opens up, I think, the profession to other people that maybe can't afford to go to a 5-year or 4+2 college. The other things that we've been doing is meeting with DGS, Department of General Services, to kind of work on terminology that is in the state contracts. So if your firm does work with DGS, we've gotten like, we got refined standard of care language, moving the phrase highest standard of care, because that's not really, insurable. We've updated other different sections. We've established a maximum amount of professional liability insurance requirements, regardless of the design not to exceed budget. So there's a lot of things that we're doing that the investment that everyone makes helps all the architects out in the state. Our state has some of the best, it has the best environment for architects to work. But we have to keep doing the work, and we need the investments to do that work. So if you're on the board and you haven't invested in the PAC, please do so today. We'd love to see that number to be 100% while we continue to work, meeting with firm leaders around the Commonwealth to get them to invest. Next one, Paul, I think that's just the one. Yeah. This is the one, we're connected to the strategic goals, professionalism, communication, value, membership, leadership culture, seeking ideas, doing all those things. Yes. I'm not going to read them all. Is that it? I think that's my last slide. There we go. And Paul's going to do Advocacy Advisory Council.
I will indeed. Owing to transition within the council and for one of a specific chair, I'll offer the update for the Advocacy Council. But here they are. Here are the members, and we have been meeting regularly, and we are rolling. Jeremy Mack gets an asterisk because he's really there to keep an eye on us with AIEDC, and so it's an opportunity for us to kind of compare notes across the river. You see here a couple of the different things that the Advocacy Advisory Council has been involved in. But I would say to generalize these, it's the Advocacy Advisory Council is especially a forum to discuss advocacy issues and kind of determine what should be the planks within our advocacy platform, and to talk about which stakeholders are out there with whom we should coordinate or communicate. And see whether we can get them on board in order to build a coalition. And then they're also involved in special projects like launching this subject matter expertise portal. So that's available on our website. It's your opportunity to indicate areas, domains of knowledge where you either are interested in acquiring more knowledge or you already have an expertise that may be interesting to us from an advocacy standpoint. So let me demystify that. What that means is that, if you say that you have some expertise in public procurement or historic rehabilitation tax credits or sustainability or in energy efficiency, we can look into that portal, see who has that expertise. And then if a legislator has a question or we need someone to kind of look at a specific bill or a specific piece of proposed legislation, we can reach out to those people and get some good thought about what we might need or want to do. The other thing that the Advocacy Advisory Council was involved in was the Hill Day. So we had the inaugural Virginia Hill Day last year. I enjoyed it. I mean, I'm at the Hill anyway, so it was fun to have some friends for a day. But that was AM kind of getting acclimated and oriented, and then a PM session where we kind of surveyed events from the gallery. I believe we were on the House side, and got a shout out from Delegate Betsy Carr. And then we munched some lunch real quick, and then we ran up for a series of committees and subcommittee meetings where we saw the sausage being made and saw what it's like for bills to be heard by committees and subcommittees and either referred to or reported out. And we're going to do that again this next year. So be looking sometime in January was when we'll actually have it. Probably on a Wednesday, probably on the Senate side this year, mix it up a little bit, but there'll be additional information coming about that. Now, if you can't make the Hill Day, but you still want to come spend the day at the General Assembly, I'm going to be there anyways, so you're welcome to come tag along. But if you want to come for like the whole learning unit thing and the peer group with your colleagues, then keep an eye out for our Hill Day and make it if you can. Another advocacy effort that's underway is the Joint Legislative Committee. So I wanted to give fair appreciation to those whom you see listed here. This group, right? It's a joint legislative committee because it's in cahoots with our brothers and sisters in consulting engineering. And so ACEC Virginia sends a delegation. We match that with our AIA Virginia members as part of that delegation. And then we get super active during the General Assembly, which, January, February, sometimes into March. What do I mean by getting busy? Well, what I mean is, of the 2,500 or so bills that are introduced, we take a pretty keen look at several hundred of them. It's like 250, 300 bills where we're reading them and we're deciding, do we want to monitor this? Do we want to oppose this? Do we want to support this? And how vehemently do we want to do any of those things? Those are what you see reported on in the legislative updates that you've been receiving during the time when General Assembly is active. And so I want to do a couple of things. One, I do want to commend the JLC because they do get after the bills and they come up with very helpful and insightful comments. We may reach out through that subject matter expertise portal to kind of get some additional information or perspective on some of the specific bills. But then, we do publish these reports on where we think we're standing on various bills and how that might change over the course of their progress through the General Assembly. For any and all of you, whether you want to be on the JLC or not, and if you do, let us know. But do please pay attention to these legislative updates. And if you feel like you have a question or a comment or a reaction, or you agree or you disagree, or you want to know why we formed that position, please know that you can reach out to me at any time and we'll be happy to have that conversation. I'm going to keep talking because I'm also a member of the AIA Virginia Foundation Board. So AIA Virginia has a foundation, and I'm grateful and appreciative to the members of that foundation board who appear here. And so we've got a legitimate bona fide 501c3. And so if you give us a monetary donation, we can give you a receipt that you can use for tax purposes. And we're happy to do that. We organize our foundation around several designated funds. One of our designated funds is undesignated. That means that we need money for, you can designate that your money goes towards operations, right? Which is an expense of having a real grown-up boy foundation. But in addition to that, we have other designated funds. For instance, the Amber Book. So, the Amber Book we've heard about, but that's a study guide for those who are preparing for the ARE. We buy those in bulk. We offer them at a large discount to those who are pursuing licensure, and we run the contributions toward that program through our foundation. The R. Corey Claiborne ELA Scholarship, so that's available to those who are entering the ELA class, but could use some financial support in terms of participating in that program. The Helene Combs Dreiling Fellowship, that is available to individuals who are emerging professionals who want to participate in AIA, either at the state or the national level, but could use some financial support in terms of being able to participate, or to run a program, or to be involved in a program, or to attend something like conference or Architecture Exchange East. And so we award up to 3 $1,000 scholarships towards that. And the AIA Virginia Prize. So we've been very proud of our long-standing involvement with the AIA Virginia Prize. In fact, within recent years, we have substantially increased the prize money that's available. And the AIA professional organization is bankrolling that. But for those who want to contribute to the AIA Virginia Prize and to the prize money that the students get, there is a way to receive a tax deduction for that, depending on your tax circumstances. Just a couple other kind of additional updates that are happening around the ranch, if you will. So the call's out. You've noticed it in the newsletter, right? We have a call for candidates to elected office. So we almost always need a president-elect. because once you get on that escalator, you become president, then you become an immediate past president. It kind of happens to you once you get started. So we're always in want of a president-elect. And then also because of terms, we need an at-large director. So if you might be interested in that, or you know someone who should be interested in that, or you know someone who might be interested in that if they were given just the right amount of nudge, one, I would encourage you to do any and all of that. If anyone has any specific questions about what it means to take these positions, they can reach out to me and I'd be happy to describe that. And the call is due no later than the 10th of August. Now we're all little architects, and so we don't really act until there's absolutely a firm deadline. But if you wanted to get your submission in early, you certainly could. Similarly, there's a call out for the Helene Combs Dryling Fellowship. That's the $3 up to $1,000. Those are going to come due toward the end of August. And then another one I wanted to mention to you. It's a very big deal, and it's keeping Kathy in particular, but all of us a little bit busy, kind of making this thing happen. But AIA Virginia has dedicated itself to the integration of an association management software system. Ours happens to be Novi. We're doing this because we're intending to reap benefits in terms of organizational efficiency and operations, but also to improve your experience as members. There'll be plenty more information coming about kind of what it means to you and what is required on your part. There will be some effort required on your part, but it's going to be well worth it. The juice is definitely going to be worth the squeeze. Okay. But what you should know is that we are very confident that this will improve your user experience as a member. You will kind of build out a member profile for yourself. But once you've done it, unless nothing changes, you don't have to do it every time. And it should really improve your experience around registration for events, tracking your engagement around the organization, receiving communications, and focusing those communications. So we're looking forward to it. You should be too. And there'll be additional information about that forthcoming. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. All right. Does anybody have any questions for any of the committee chairs? Comments? I'm hearing none. Paul, shall we wrap it up?
Yes, we certainly can, Mr. President.
Okay. Well, thanks again to everyone for attending, and especially the council and committee chairs for providing such great leadership and all the great work that you've been doing halfway through the year. I'm looking forward to seeing a strong finish for 2026. Thanks, everyone.
Absolutely. Thank you all very much.
Thanks,
you.
everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, y'all.
Bye-bye.